Hello, my name is Alan. My pronouns are he, him. And tonight I am running the first of, I think it's 4. I can't remember how many weeks we've got in this month. I'm still boggled by the festive holidays. So this is the first of 4 game sessions in a series that I've tentatively christened Against the Vampire Conspiracy, Throndal. These are sessions of my own Against the Dark Conspiracy game, where we are confronting the vampire conspiracy. In these sessions, we will be collaborating about creating various operations, but I will warn the players now, I have a broad plot arc mapped out of sort. I know, shock horror, because I'm trying to make sure that we stay reasonably consistent with the developing continuity, which is called The Dark Conspiracy Continues. And my thanks to Will for that. You know, that is how the conspiracy is going so far, and it's getting more and more. And we're going to be picking up somewhere up here because we are interested in this person here, Count Simon Throndal. So this is a game of a supernatural thriller game, I guess. I could describe it as Jason Bourne Vampire Hunter, or maybe Mission Dracula, Mission Impossible with vampires. I don't know. That's the kind of tone we're pitching at. I will, while I'm speaking, refer the players to the Conspiracy and Lines and Veils tab, because I do need to say that this is a game in which the characters, the operators, are not necessarily entirely nice people. They've spent a professional career doing dangerous and dubious things for often amoral state security and other agencies or criminal conspiracies. And so I have a number of content warnings. So, you know, we will encounter vampires and their lore. There will be horror, there may well be gore. There will be tension between player characters in all probability. There will be conceivably intimacy and you know, verbal or even physical abuse between player characters when the tension gets high. There could also be drug and alcohol abuse. There could also be verbal, physical abuse of non-player characters by the player characters, and intimacy between player and non-player characters. So these, while they are our heroes, they may not be nice people. We are going to start with a lead, which I'll define in a bit, because we've had a bit of a chat beforehand about how we are going to kick this series off. But for now, I think that kind of summarizes my cats, apart from to say that because we're dealing with some of these issues, some of these content warnings, we're also playing with a set of layered safety tools. So we're playing with lines. And currently, and please, I say to the players, add any more that makes sense. And just because I've given you that content warning, if there is any of that you want to line out because you're uncomfortable with it, that's fine. It will narrow the scope slightly in terms of how you can recover from stress. And equally, you know, if you want to veil some of that, that's fine as well. But currently we have lines on sexual assault and violence, homophobia, racism, sexism, transphobia, and I keep meaning to add misogyny to that. Infection and plague is a major plot point. We're not counting in vampirism as a plague in this context. And also we're putting actually, I don't think that's me. I meant to veil torture. If anybody wants to, either by player characters or non-player characters.
I think I veiled torture by PCs, so
fine.
I don't much like our
no,
PCs torturing people.
That's fine. And torture by NPCs will be veiled. So lines we won't have in the fiction. Oh, sorry, cannibalism down the bottom is lined. Lines won't appear in the fiction. If any of us feel we're getting close to a line, you know, somebody else around the table can just nudge us and ask for clarification. We're also playing with veils. Veils could appear in the fiction, but if they do, we will draw a discrete curtain across. So currently we have a veil on harm to children, peril to pregnant women and infants, consensual sex, domestic violence, and torture by non-player characters. So that we won't see that on screen. We will draw a discrete curtain, or the camera will angle away So again, any lines, please do. If there's anything on there that as a player you're particularly interested in seeing, then please feel free to use the interested column to highlight something. I will try to do my best. The more I look down there, the more I think, well, you know, most of this perhaps. But so we're playing with lines and veils in the circumstance where something nobody predicts it's going to come up, nobody thinks it's going to come up, nobody thinks it's going to be a problem, but then makes anyone uncomfortable. We're playing with the X card. The simplest way to play the X card for me is to show me the X, because I tend to focus on the picture of the player in front of me. If you'd prefer, please put it in the chat. I may not notice it. If somebody else does notice it, please draw my attention to it with the cross. And this could be for anything, folks. So, you know, I have had people play an X card because I named an NPC unknowingly after a relative. And when the NPC started doing bad things, please, could we not have my brother-in-law do bad things? So we just renamed them and moved on. But I won't ask you what's made you play the X card, apart from to ask you maybe how far back in the fiction you want me to rewind so I can play forward and avoid whatever it was that was, you know, caused you to X card. We're also playing with the open door. The open door, I think, has two broad functions. One, if something happens in the real world behind us, please go deal with it. All right, that the real world remains important despite the fact we're focused on the game. But perhaps more important than that is, if this turns out not to be the game that you thought or hoped it was going to be, do not feel obliged to just sit here and grin and bear it, or even not grin and bear it. Okay, life's too short to waste an evening in front of a screen if you're not having a good time. So the open door is there for any of us who feels, actually, this isn't going the way I thought it was going to go. It's not as enjoyable as I hoped it would be. Thanks, but I think I'll go. If you do step away for whatever reason, it would be nice to know if you're going to come back in the chat, because that just allows us to judge whether we need to keep that character on ice or not. But, you know, if you can't, you can't. So the other final point I suppose to make is that we're going to be playing within the Gauntlet Community Code of Contact, because this, like all of my games just about, this game was organized through the Gauntlet online gaming community's monthly calendar. And that calendar has dozens, if not hundreds, of games listed every month. If you don't know about Gauntlet, search Gauntlet-RPG and you will find us. And you will find also our blogs and our podcasts, and even access to the publishing arm. So, you know, come and find the Gauntlet. We like to think it's nice to play games here. So if you want to play online, come join us. If you're not certain, then I think in March, we're running another Gauntlet Community Open Gaming Weekend, where you can come and just join a game and see if it's for you. If you really like us, you could always join our Patreon, which keeps the lights on and the wheels turning. I also increasingly think of the debrief at the end of games as a safety tool. I have to say, I think Stars and Wishes in their way are a safety tool. So we will be having a brief debrief at the end, just to see what people want to see more of, or any of, and less of. So I think that is my spiel complete. Let's go to the players and their characters. In this game, the player characters are called operators. So let me begin by saying, Sabine, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Dylan Herbst.
I'm you. Yeah, I'm Sabine. I use any pronouns, and I'm going to play Dylan Herbst. He is, let me check what the facts that I have for him. I haven't played him for a while now. He is, he used to work as, well, how do you say that? As a honey trap, I guess, for the German BND. He was the kind of person who got in close and personal with people, and then mostly men. And then, well, when they started to trust him, he would use that trust to find out stuff that they didn't necessarily want him to find out. Eventually, the life at the BND was not so fun for him, because there was a bit, some of these superiors didn't like his life choices, let's say. And he dropped out, but he got involved at some point with this whole vampire thingy. And it's, I mean, yeah, if you've been in this game for a while, you can't just, it's like a drug, right? It's that you got to chase the high. That's, I think he met Mia in the middle of the whole thing. And they oddly enough, first he didn't like her, then he kind of liked her, and now he really likes her, not in an intimate way, but as actually sort of a friend. As odd as it is, because spies, friends, right, betray each other at the drop of a hat. Oh, speaking of hats, that is something Dylan is really interested in. He likes hats. He has a lot of them. He has a hat shop somewhere in Mexico, but probably Mia is the only person who knows that.
Okay, thanks for that. Now, every operator in this game has an anchor, someone in the real world that they want to protect from the conspiracy. That anchor may feel the same about them, but generally speaking, the anchor is kept at arm's length because otherwise they would be at risk. So tell me about Dylan's anchor.
His anchor is Layla. Layla is an LGBTQ plus activist who's sort of a moral compass, knows nothing about Dylan's past at all. She just knows that he is some sort of accountant or forensic accountant or some tax stuff. Like, yeah, boring. And she lives in Cologne, and yeah,
that's all we need to know. That's all we
need to know.
We might find out some more about Layla in play. Okay, let's move along. As anyone watching will have gathered, Dylan is a returning character. Dylan has confronted the conspiracy before during playtest, I think. First time back in the full-blown game. Let's move along. Will, say hello. Tell us about your pronouns and introduce us to Anton Zakpal.
Hi, my name is Will, pronouns he, him, as are those of my character Anton Zakpal, who's I think the first time I've not played Jimmy Rook against the vampire conspiracy. Different character against the fake conspiracy. But anyway, Anton Zakpal has a bit of a, he was recruited into an organization called the Pursuivants, and then he was recruited further into an even more specialized field called EDOM. And he was told that he was going to hunt supernatural threats, which was to account for some things that his family history had done back during the days of the war, the horrors that his great uncle had unleashed upon the world. And, you know, he's sort of trained to be this for most of his adult life. So he's very deadly, very learned about the occult, not so much about anything else, but he was a weapon that was used and he thought it was for good until a very posh British woman with a good line in disguises came to him and told him that actually that cult that he'd wiped out was harmless. They were innocents. They were opposed to vampire conspiracy, and he learned that he was just a tool in their arsenal.
And for anyone listening, if you're not familiar with EDOM, you do need to check out the game that this is an homage to, Night's Black Agents. EDOM is buried deep in the British intelligence services and harnesses vampires for no good, we think.
And certainly that's who Anton thought he was working for.
Exactly. Now, who is your anchor?
My anchor is Professor Wilbur Blake, who was the man who recruited me into the Pursuivants when I was tracking down my family history as a young boy, and showed me that things are not quite as normal as they seem, but was not disapproved of me accepting EDOM's offer, and is so kind of part of the supernatural world, but he's kind of an academic and off to the side, as far as I know. You know.
Fine. Again, I'll come back to why you decided to confront the conspiracy in a little while. Let's go next to Puckett. Puckett, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Mia Smith.
I'm Puckett. I use he, him pronouns. Today, I'll be playing Mia Smith, who I think started in the second ever session of Night's Dark Operators when you ran it as a 2-shot back, but like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Anyway, so Mia's festive. Mia's a fun character. And by that, I mean that she will own your network and she will hack it, get into your systems, control your cameras, find out information that you probably don't want shared, and then manage to get a priest to bless the water in an airport so that she can activate the fire suppression system while vampires are walking through it. So, there's that. I'm not sure what more there is to say about Mia, except that she usually wears a hoodie and she usually has a backpack with her, and it's usually filled with things that are pretty much harmless to people, but extraordinarily deadly to vampires. She also has spent some time in a small town in Baja, California, where she works as a bookstore clerk. Her anchor is Sho, a former mentor, who lives, if I remember correctly, where did we say Sho was holed up? Like
let's not say. Sho wouldn't want that revealed unless it was absolutely necessary.
Right. But Sho and Mia met when Mia was a teenager, and Sho taught me a lot of what she knows and gradually helped her get into weirder and weirder things. The CIA eventually fired her because she got into those weirder and weirder things and was taking too much time away. And now she just does this full time because, it's fun. And she and Dylan have worked on ops before, and they've become probably about as close to friends as you can actually be in this world. So it's a good time, hunting vampires with a friend, hanging out, going to bars, getting in trouble, then hunting more vampires.
And meanwhile, just buying hats. Thank you. I'll come back to discuss your drive, your motive for getting involved in this shortly. And finally, the only person who's never played any variety of Against the Dark Conspiracy. Welcome, Anders. Tell us your pronouns and introduce us to Timothy Warrens.
Yes, hello, I'm Anders, he, him. I'm playing Timothy Warrens, who used to work for the Vatican's Men in Black, who investigate supernatural occurrences. Probably, I think he got recruited for the when they're investigating saints, like they check out, was this a genuine miracle, that sort of thing, and he got deeper and deeper into checking out other kinds of events. So he's aware of the supernatural, but I don't think he has a good understanding of what's actually going on. He knows that there are supernatural things, but I think he balked at some point when it seemed like the people he were working for wanted him to let some supernatural creature go. He knew it was a thing that was doing evil, and he wanted it stopped. But they were tracking it to investigate something, or they had some other ideas about it. He doesn't know, but he didn't want to play along anymore, and then he was out in the cold. And
before the Vatican kicked him to the curb and put him out in the cold, was he a priest?
Yeah, absolutely.
So our first defrocked priest, that's something we need to record somewhere. I'm curious then about your anchor.
Yeah, I was thinking relative, like an estranged sister, someone he hasn't had a lot of contact with because maybe they weren't like all that close even when they were growing up, or maybe they were close like siblings are, but maybe there's an age difference, like 7-8 years, so they're not super close. And when he became a priest and started traveling, he and got into this whole saint investigation business. He's been traveling all over the world. He hasn't really kept in touch much. They send each other Christmas cards. It's kind of on that level. Maybe
I'm curious. I'm curious. Does he still have faith?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
I think he's kind of into fighting the vampires because he thinks they are in some way demonic or at least evil. He's not like a fanatic fire and brimstone sort of person. He's not a judgy religious person, but he does have some kind of faith.
Okay, we might come back to that in a moment. Let me go back around to Dylan. And Dylan, remind us, you hinted at it, but remind us explicitly why you decided to confront the conspiracy, because you could have just kept your head down, gone into the hat shop business, and walked away from all this. Why did you decide that you wanted to continue the fight?
But I have a lot of, if you ask Dylan, he has a lot of bullshit reasons. Like, because it was the right thing to do, because it might have been dangerous to people if he didn't, because Mia told him it was a good idea. Really? He just can't just, after the life he's lived, he can't just go and live a quiet life in a hat shop in Baja California. It's just not, no, not even with the bullshit that is going on in that little town, harmless little town that constantly somebody's on fire or is a vampire. Don't worry, it's not gonna come up in this session, not at all. But yeah, no, he needs the thrill. That's basically it.
So what happened? What has happened that confirmed the conspiracy is a worthy challenge? That are going to give you that thrill?
I mean, I can't point to a specific point where I said, oh, this was worth it. I think the point was when we were at the Slowly Street and there was this truck driver bullshitting us about stuff, and he was a human trafficker, and I shot him point blank, which kind of surprised people for whatever reason. I mean, I'm an agent, right? And then we found, I think these people, they were keeping as a larder basically, and that seemed, and it was dangerous, and yeah.
That works. Yeah. I'll ask you to just put a sentence to that effect into the character Sinead memoir for me. But before you do that, I am curious, just how much would you risk for the adrenaline rush that this kind of work gives you?
I mean, I would risk life and limb my own, probably, and maybe a little bit of Mia's, but but I would draw a line where I would have to sacrifice Mia, or would have to put actually people who are not in the game on the line, right?
So I think then also put something in there that says something about you being prepared to risk your own life and limb. And then again, I'll have that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, not too badly. I mean, I don't like playing on the 5% odds or something like that. I like to have good odds, but there can be a chance of failure. That's what makes it spicy, right? The chance of failure is maybe a little higher than it would be if you were doing bungee jumping, but it's that Dylan actually works at minimizing the chance of getting killed. That he's not like, ooh, and I got killed. Yeah, that did it for me. No, it's more like, yeah, there's a frisson, but there's a limit.
But there is a willingness to take a risk.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, otherwise there wouldn't be no thrill.
Exactly. Okay, that's great. Let's move along to Anton. Anton, why did you choose? I mean, again, I think we got a hint of this, but specifically, why did you choose to confront the conspiracy?
Because this is what I thought I was doing the whole time. I thought I was fighting the shadowy forces of darkness. It turns out I was a tool of the shadowy forces of darkness. And, well, hopefully I'm a weapon pointed in the right direction now.
And what does Wilbur Blake know that you've stepped away from official inverted commas work?
I think that Wilbur takes the position of don't tell me things that I would may be able to reveal. So when we talk, it's very general and roundabout, and he's happy to consult on supernatural, esoteric, trivia academia almost, from an academic perspective, he'll give you that, but he won't tell you that it's the the cabinet minister who's been possessed by a demon or whatever, because he's his own life of tradecraft and legacy.
Okay. And I suppose I am just curious about what you, because presumably you're not in touch with him as often as you were, now that, you're trying to keep the conspiracy away from him.
I think I wasn't in touch with him while I was working for EDOM, like we were close until I decided that the Pursuivants were not direct enough,
Okay. So he's important to you, but there's a real question over whether you're important to him.
Yes, indeed, because I also have vague ideas that maybe Wilbur Blake is not a thoroughly nice man either, frankly, just nicer than the other people we might have seen. But yeah,
everything's
who knows?
relative after
Who knows?
all.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, so as a cog in the conspiracy, I think we've got a sense of some of the stuff that you are not proud of.
Mm-hmm.
But I am curious for you to tell me explicitly, how could the conspiracy entice you back? What would it take? What could I offer you?
Because some of the things that Anton has killed probably were dangers and were threats, but they were threats to the conspiracy, not to the human race, as that was the reason they were targeted. And really, it wouldn't take all that much unless the conspiracy convinced me that there was a truly greater evil than them. Then I would perhaps ally with them again.
That presumably only they were equipped to deal with.
Yes, whereas I think part of the scales off the eyes was to find out that actually, never mind that I was working for vampires, but I was actually working for the worst kind of vampire, because I probably killed other vampires, right? Like threats and rivals and things. But yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Maybe we cross over into a demon conspiracy.
Who knows? That would take our conspiracy board into another entire dimension.
Three-dimensional conspiracy board. Yeah.
So let's go to Mia. Mia, we know about your anchor, but I'm curious why you chose to confront the conspiracy.
Because at one point, many years ago, I found out that my mother was a CIA operative. And, well, I found that out when I met Sho, and I learned things from Sho and went into the CIA, and then my mother disappeared, and I found out that it was part of this vampire conspiracy. So, yeah, I tend not to like them too much.
And so if you felt you had to get involved in putting things right, in containing, if at least, and hopefully dismantling the conspiracy, what have you seen that demonstrated that inhumanity that is worth taking risks to take down?
That, where was it? Debrecen, where I was in that underground basement under that factory, and there were just like people in bags hanging there, like juice boxes.
That's good enough. That's good enough.
I got a little less concerned about collateral damage after that, which is why we took out that hotel.
Indeed. The upper floor of which is still to be repaired, I believe. Well, then that does raise the question of, okay, I can see that experience in the basement beneath that factory in Debrecen in Hungary was character forming, perhaps. Yeah. But what would you sacrifice to stop the conspiracy? Or if it's easier, what wouldn't you sacrifice?
Are we talking about stopping a particular part of it or stopping it entirely?
Who knows where the key piece is?
If it meant ending this conspiracy in its entirety completely forever, I'd try to make sure Dylan got clear. But, beyond that.
So almost anything but Dylan.
Yeah. I'd feel bad about the civilians, but, acceptable losses.
If you would just make a note of that in that bit of the character keeper, I'd be grateful. Okay, let's come back around to Timothy, former Father Timothy. Timothy, why have you chosen to confront the conspiracy? And there's a drop down with some choices there that will inform the question I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, they're evil. They're doing evil things. They are exploiting people, and they are probably a danger to people's immortal souls.
So is the best summary for that faith?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well, if you hit the drop down, that'll tell me what question I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, cool. Oops. Yeah.
Well, I think in terms of the first bit of this, what do you believe in? Clearly, you still have some of that Catholicism in you.
Yeah, and I think he was never like a doctrinarian or that sort of thing. He had faith in God, and I think his family was Catholic, so that was like the natural path for him. But it's not like he's not overly concerned with different, at least not different Christian faiths, and probably fairly open-minded regarding other faiths as well.
Okay,
all
so
roads lead to God, sort of thing.
yeah, that's so. I suppose I'm curious then. What have you seen that suggests the conspiracy threatens your beliefs?
I think it's been. I think it's connected to the event that led him to be burned. I think he saw various documents and witnessed events that led him to believe that this supernatural conspiracy had infiltrated the church to some extent, or at least it had influence over some of the people in the church, or alternatively that they were using methods that he would not agree with in order to fight it, possibly.
Well, I love the hint you've dropped there that the Vatican may have its own vampire program, but certainly that the conspiracy was having undue influence. Okay, well, if you can just put a sentence to that effect into the Character Keeper's Aid memoir, but before you do that, let me ask you, what would it take for you to discard your beliefs?
Oh, that's.
Or is there nothing?
I mean, I don't think he has witnessed clearly personally what the vampires do. So if he was convinced that they were actually that he had been mistaken, that they're actually a force for good instead of a force for evil in some way, I'm not sure how likely that would be, but it's not impossible that could happen.
So vampires may just be angels.
Maybe not angels. That seems unlikely, but they could be. It could be that they're not demonic. At least maybe there's something natural instead of something supernatural.
Okay. That's really interesting. So if they could demonstrate that they're just a natural part of the world, and they've got nothing to do with, being possessed by demonic, bloodthirsty spirits or anything else, that could make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fine. If you can put a couple of sentences into that box of the Character Keeper, just so none of us forget that that thing that we might be able to lean into or leverage, that would be really helpful. So these then are our operators. I think if it's okay with you, I want to keep going for a little bit because I'd like to have some idea of what this first operation is going to look like. And then we'll take a break. So this operation then, I've provided you with an initial lead, okay? Now, you are all members of this informal network of true believers, and they have a conspiracy board. And a post has appeared on the network, as it's called, about someone called Rajesh Chowdhury. He's a doctoral student at Stanford, and you'll find this in Operation 1 in the Leads tab. He appears to have gone missing. He was on a research trip. Dylan, which city was he on a research trip to?
Wow, let's say Munich.
Okay. It's a research trip to Munich, where he was researching Austro-Hungarian noble families as part of his PhD. And his PhD was about mapping Austro-Hungarian noble family trees, including the Throndals, who is our quarry in this series, into the modern day. And his thesis is that despite 2 world wars, power and influence remains in some of those family lines. The post is from someone called Madam Mina, who the bot that runs the network tags as trusted source. Mina appears to have come up with some positive and productive leads in the past. So that is the lead. Because prior to this game, we talked about where people wanted to go. The objective is hopefully to take a vampire off the board. No one has ever confronted a proper old vampire and got away with it. So that's the broad objective of this series. But first of all, you need to find out a little bit more about Throndal. So let me start by saying, let me stick with Sabine, and then I'll move across. So Sabine, as player now, what's the operational objective? Is it to find Rajesh Chowdhury, or is it to find his research?
Ideally, both, I think.
It would be nice if you got both.
Yeah.
But if faced with a choice,
If faced with a choice, I think, yeah, I think we take the research actually, because I mean, this person, if we find him alive but broken, and that's not very useful. I am a terrible person.
I will check in before we get to the operational stage, just to make sure that is where you want to keep the objective. Let's move along next to Will as player now. Who or what is the focus of the operation? I think that's kind of defined by the objective. But, you know,
who would be a scientist, I suppose, in this sense.
Yeah, I mean,
a researcher.
Yeah, I mean, let me stress, these drop-down lists are there to provide inspiration as much as anything. So select one of them and then give us a bit of detail in the space a long time.
Yeah, I'll go with somebody else just because it's there in the drop-down menu.
Exactly, it's there.
Rajesh Chowdhury is the thing. There we go. He is the focus of the operation, whether it's what he knows or where he is. However we come at that.
That makes sense to me. Let me move next to Anders. In terms of if you hit the drop-down box that says where's the target, it gives you a chance to identify a kind of place.
I think
Say again?
I think
sorry.
I froze a little bit back there. Sorry.
I don't know where you are.
Okay, sorry. Go to the Operation 1 tab.
Yep.
And you'll find there on row 6, 7 rather, where there's a drop-down list of potential places where this operation is going to take place. So does one of those on that drop-down list appeal to you or create a bit of inspiration for you?
And once you've chosen one, there will be a further choice in the
Detail
drop-down menu. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Sorry, I'm reading back. I'm better at absorbing written information than spoken sometimes. So he's missing find his research note. Well, probably at his home, so residential, I guess.
Okay. And then the detail will give you a range of kind of residential options. What are you hoping you're going to find? Because remember, currently he is missing. So where are you going to look for him, and hopefully find him?
Oh, sorry, were we looking for him? Because it says I thought it was a research note.
No. So what it is it's basically you choose the where do you want the main focus of the operation to be, and it could be if it's the prison that he's been located, or it could be that we're going to break into his Airbnb and potentially someone will be interrupting us there. But imagine it more as like you're painting the scene for the episode, like the thing.
Yeah,
I should have you do that every time, Will. You're much better at it than I am.
Then maybe it's something else. Maybe a facility like a hospital would be interesting. If he's missing,
anything you want. The choice is yours. We will shape the operation around these choices.
Yeah.
One thing to we're at the start of this, Anders, so like you've got pretty free reign. The one thing that I would always remind people when we're doing this is always do it as like a yes and. So what you've done shouldn't just be I like this option. It should be built upon what's happened, and I think you're doing that perfectly with facility hospital. Maybe is there, it's just that I've seen it where someone chooses something that doesn't fit with anything at all, and then we spend the next hour trying to like make it work in our heads, kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm reminded of Politician, Circus, Hall of Mirrors.
Yeah, that worked pretty well in the end, but
it
was hard. It was hard.
Yeah, but is that's hospital seem okay here? Does it seem?
I think that's a solid choice.
Oh, let's go for that then.
Fine. Let me come now to Mia. What is the threat the operators will face? And this, Anders, for information, this is a way of scaling the operation. So the choices here run from criminal pawns of the conspiracy right the way through to full-blown vampires. And it's about how you want to pace this. Where do you want to pace this, Puckett?
So this is just for this session, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
For this operation. And remember, I have some complications I can throw into this that may up the ante.
Yes. Next question. Do we level up? Is there like a level up mechanic?
None. The only advancement in this is what you know and come to fear.
Okay. In that case, since this is for this operation, let's go with we are trying to find the research. Let's go with some named special conspiracy special ops contractors.
Okay. And then I come back around to Sabine to say, okay, these special ops contractors, what do they appear to be doing? And again, I don't expect this to be a perfect fit, but I think there is something else. Oh no, I didn't put something else in this list, but pick something that inspires you or that you can ignore and write something next to it.
Let me unmute myself and then look at the pick list. What are they doing? Working a side gig. Oh, meeting their conspiracy handlers. But I think they might be just hunting for someone or something at that hospital, and maybe they're just looking for a special kind of blood.
Maybe they're looking for the research notes as well.
Or maybe they're looking for the research notes as well. Yeah, I mean that would make sense, right? But would also be interesting if they were actually looking for some sort of specially potent blood.
If you can knit that into this developing plot, you know, anything goes.
Maybe this Rajesh Chaudhary guy has part of a bloodline that has the especially potent blood. Who knows?
I love all of the ideas, but I would just stress that we risk getting into that drift area if it's there's a random Van Helsing guy who also happens to be the person doing the Throndal thing.
Okay. So let's say they're there to find that that research stuff. Right, maybe there's something in the research that they're specially looking for.
Okay,
so it's not the entire thing that he has, but one part of it that is salient for them that they want to have.
Fine, because clearly his research notes are not where anybody would sensibly look. So they're not sitting on his computer at Stanford, for instance, because they wouldn't be missing.
Yeah, we would have found them.
Exactly. So Mia's already ripped the guts out of the Stanford history faculty's system, and there's nothing in there. Okay, that's our framework. I'm going to suggest we take our break now, and then we'll come back and run through the investigation phase where you can begin to add some detail based on the scenes you frame and the things you find out. Okay, I'm going to suggest a decent break until 10 past the hour. Okay. See you at 10 past. I'll pause the recording. Okay, so we have an outline of the operation. What we're now going to do is each player will have an opportunity to frame an investigative scene for their operator in which they can try to add some detail to this that kind of tries to keep some coherent whole around the operation, if at all possible. What I'm going to do, I'm going to come to Anders last because he's not done this before. I'm going to go to Will first because he's done this with the current rule set most often. So let me start with Anton then. Give me some idea of the scene that Anton wants to frame and what he wants to know.
What I want to know is I am interested in what Rajesh was studying himself, and I feel that's probably the one that's most applicable to a law role. So that's why I'm working towards that one. I don't feel like the rest of them particularly do, beyond me maybe using magic to find Rajesh himself. Is that a thing I could do? I'm sorry, I'm not.
It is. I mean, you could, because generally speaking, any investigation scene boils down to a single role to investigate.
Mm-hmm.
You could investigate using Harness the Dark. I don't see why that shouldn't be possible. To do some kind of charm to locate. Scrying, maybe.
Some sort of thing. I'm just seeing what the
I mean, what
the negatives are for the
Harness
the Dark.
Well, what can I tell you? Well, let me come to that in a moment. But yeah, just to stress, this is playtesting the Librarian specialism, which gives operators access to some of the dark powers. I think I have to play this quite straight and say that investigative scenes use an investigation role.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think this is the Harness the Dark move. I think this is investigation using that expertise.
And would law then be applicable in that sense?
It would.
Okay, cool. Then I will do that. Because you're not likely to get a cost-free version of magic very often in this game. Cost-free.
So tell me something about how Anton harnesses the power of the darkness that flows through the supernatural in this world.
I think it is with the symbols and elder signs of the Pursuivants, consecrating the back room that he's doing it in the safe house, and it is with a picture of Rajesh, and I think an item of the Throndal bloodline, something that, or you know, because the Throndals are a historic family, right?
Yeah, I think that's going too far.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
think if this is about scrying Rajesh, I think the photograph of
Yeah,
Rajesh is enough.
Well, it's because I'd be scrying up on like Rajesh's interest in there, but never mind. I'll do that. I'll do that then.
Well, you know, then you can ask me some questions depending on how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I will scry for Rajesh. And I don't see a dice roller.
Oh, sorry, it's in the lines and veils.
Yes, but at the moment that just says roll with me.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
a poor thing, isn't it? Okay, I beg your pardon. Here you go.
Which I meant to tell you at some point, but
Right,
I never.
try that.
Power Acres Wood Government had thought. Okay.
And I'll replace the one in lines and veils.
Mhm.
Oh, that's because I'm using the version of this that goes to drive-through, which has a blank, obviously, dice room. There we go. I've updated the one in lines and veils.
You've not written over your blank template, have you?
No, I haven't, because you have to create a dice room.
Ah, yeah. No. I mean in the keeper itself.
No, you're okay. You're all right.
Yeah. That may be your problem, not mine.
Yeah. And the thousands of people on drive-through are buying my game as we speak and want to use this dice room now.
I got a 5 on my law investigation.
I do want to just explain to Anders what's just gone on. Yeah. So if you look at the dice pool, everyone uses the same dice pool. You always get to roll the dice in the middle. So that's where the 5 that Will rolled has come up. If your expertise is relevant, you get to roll the orange expertise dice to the left of it. And I will always offer you the chance to include the stress dice above it, the green one. You needn't worry about deadly and explosives or risk. We'll cover that when it happens. But I'm assuming that Anton did not want to include the stress dice.
I did not want to include the stress dice. No.
So, and it is the highest number that matters. So in this case, 5 and 2, it is the 5 we're interested in. And then if we go to the basic moves tab for the investigate move, when you want to ask a question about someone, something, or somewhere, or you want control to reveal something about the situation, roll 1d6. Now, because we're playing this kind of hybrid, collaborate within a framework, normally you might be able to create a detail, but principally, this will be about asking me what's already in my bits of prep.
Mm-hmm.
So on a 5, you get the minimum needed to proceed, and control will also answer 1 question. Okay, I think that the minimum you need to proceed is that you will see Rajesh. Rajesh is strapped to a gurney.
Flickering visions, you know, playing across the room. Yeah.
And perspective is changing, it's blurring, it's coming in and out of focus, but definitely Rajesh strapped to a gurney, and you can see there's a kind of a tag on the gown he's wearing, which has the name of the hospital. So do you want to tell me the name of this hospital outside Munich?
Sabine, what would be a good German name for a hospital? Because I don't know what they call them over there.
You got me right, and I have no idea. Probably Bethesda Hospital. There's always one of them in most cities.
Because over here, I would have just found the oldest, poshest dead white man, and it probably would have been named after him.
Yeah, that's also we also have these, right? I just forgot. We have an Olga hospital. That was a queen, but
Bethesda works.
If you want to edit that in, I put Bethesda Hospital.
No, Bethesda is fine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is a hospital outside Munich, we will discover shortly. That's what you need to proceed. What question do you want to ask me?
I want to ask you, I think I want to ask you, is Rajesh in a fit enough state? You know, like if we got Rajesh, would that fulfill our objective?
Okay, I think that as the scene is blurring in and out, and finally some sound comes through, and it's an American voice saying to Rajesh, "Look, we know you know. We just need to know exactly what you know and where it is. So Rajesh, the network's not worth it. They wouldn't come and help you. Why are you protecting them?
Where are your network friends now? Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
And it's clear that he's being questioned, but the tone of the professional of the interrogator suggests this is a professional interrogator. So he is being interrogated by an American, and he looks drugged to the eyeballs. But they seem to expect him to have some answers.
Yeah, so he's not been driven insane or in a coma or anything. I've confirmed that he is a valuable thing. And I will put it out there that Anton's goal is to rescue Rajesh, not to find the information.
Okay.
He's got red in his ledger, you know, just to frame any actions I do going forward. So.
Okay. So if you want to add some of that detail about Rajesh or the hospital or the opposition, somewhere on that operation sheet, just record some of that stuff. Let me go next. I'll keep going. I'll go in reverse direction. I'll go next to Sabine and Dylan. Sabine, frame a scene for Dylan's investigation. What do we want to see Dylan doing that might help you crack this?
I think I want to go to the hospital and pretend to be a doctor. And just see what I can find out, maybe about these American guys who are in there.
You can do that, but if you enter the premises, the focus of the operation, during the investigation scene, I will mark heat automatically.
Oh, okay. So it's better just to, then I need to figure out where these Americans come from, right? Because they are at the hospital, I don't need to be there. So they would probably be holed up somewhere, and I kind of get that they will have cars. So what we need is a car rental service. And since they're Americans, they want big cars, right? Because Americans, they don't like little European cars. They feel insecure in them. So I think I will hit up a car dealership and say that I want to be a car salesman, and then chat up one of the employees and talk to them and figure out what I can figure out there. They will have an SUV. I'm pretty sure they will. I think even in Munich, there is a limited amount of SUVs. Of course, there is a BMW headquarters. I think they are in Munich. So they only have one major car company headquarters. So that's basically nothing.
So what I'm seeing here is probably Dylan pretending to be an American.
Yes.
And saying an American friend of mine hired a car.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And they said they got a very good deal. Blah blah blah. Can you help me? And go from there.
It's so hard to find an good American car in Germany. You know, they have all these little cars. Do you have American made, like Ford or something? And I apologize to Pocket right now.
So I think that sounds like you're engaging the persuasion and or the disguise. Only one of them counts. So you've got the grey dice, you've got the orange dice. Do you want to? Is this important enough to include the stress dice to increase your chance of success?
I don't think so. I mean, how is this? Depends. Of course, depends on how the car dealer kind of looks. But I think that's more. For stress.
This could roll on.
No, it's not. I'm not deadly explosive. So I'm using the gray die
and the orange
black
dice.
One and the orange one. Okay. That's 2. Yeah, that should be fine, right? It should be fine.
Yeah, that's a 5.
It is.
So yes. This was rented. Yes. Oh, would that be Mr. Longshore? Tall blonde gentleman with a crew cut. Yes, I rented him 2 of our SUVs.
Longshore, how long in my body? Yes. Do you have any idea where I can find him? I'm so sorry. You know how it is. I lost my phone and all the information I had on people is in there. It's such a hassle. Like with the airport, somebody stole it from me. Can you believe that? I thought that things were more civilized here.
Absolutely,
really.
absolutely. No. He gave a hotel address here in Munich.
Oh, okay. Can you tell me which hotel that is?
Yes, yeah,
love to
absolutely.
connect
No,
with him. Yes.
anything for you.
Thank you. You're
and
so kind, and I'll touch his hand and flirt a little.
So I think that what I can tell you is that you now know the name of the lead of the contractors. You know where their hotel in Munich is. And I think by default, you have some registrations for the 2 SUVs that he rented, which might tell you something about the number of people he's moving about.
Yeah.
Does
I mean,
that seem
that seems fair. It seems like if he has 2 SUVs, I think he has at least 7 people, right? Maybe more. You don't want to cram them, and even not even into an SUV. You need room to move, and if you have to abduct somebody,
they're big people.
Yeah, right.
So make a note of some of that stuff on the operations tab so we don't forget about it.
Okay.
Again, I'm going to come to Anders last. So let me now go to Mia. Puckett, frame an investigative scene, or I should have offered this to the others and I forgot. You could not have an investigative scene and instead opt for a preparatory scene, which would give you a degree of fictional positioning at the start of the operation.
So my question is, we have the hotel information, correct? We know the hospital. If I start hacking systems, is that investigatory or is that preparation?
It depends what you want. So if you want to ask me questions, that's an investigatory scene. If you want to say, and therefore I got control of the digital locks at the hospital on the hospital doors, that's preparatory.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, I think I'm going to do some prep work here.
Fine. So we'll defer your investigation and we'll do that prep scene before the operation proper starts. Okay. Let's come finally to Timothy. Anders, one way to come at this is to think about what do you want to know if you want to have an investigation scene, and then frame the scene around Timothy's expertise. So at this point, what do you want to know that you think would help in making this operation a success?
Well, I think I would want to know what the Americans are doing. And I mean, I have intrusion, so I could probably gain access to their hotel room and see what we can find there.
So it's you're using intrusion to investigate a location. It's not the focus of the operation, so I'm not going to charge you any heat to go on the premises at the hospital. And then maybe they've left something important. Okay. So I think that how do you go about this intrusion then? Describe what we see.
We know where because I figure we've localized we know what hotel they're staying at. I figure finding out which room they're staying in shouldn't be too difficult.
Easy.
So I think Timothy, he lifts like a key card from one of the cleaning staff, and just walks in there.
Fine. Let's have you roll to investigate using expertise of intrusion. So you're using the middle grey dice. You've got the orange dice, the expertise dice. Would you like to include the stress dice to improve your chance of success? Because the more dice you roll, the more chance of a high number.
Yeah, but what happens when I roll the stress die? Because that's the risk of increasing my stress.
It's only fair that I should tell you that. If the highest number is on the stress dice, or even if the stress dice is equally high as another dice, stress automatically goes up by 1.
Cool. So now I'm running numbers in my head. So, I'm increasing my odds of not getting a bad result reasonably. I think I'll just stick with the 2.
That's
So
fine.
I click those two, the orange and the white, and
Yeah.
then the roll thing, and I go to 5. So
That's a 5. So I think the basic information that you will get is you will now know how many people we're talking about. So I think there is one room that is single occupancy, and there are 3 rooms that are shared. So total number of people on Longshore's team, him and 6 others. So you've got some idea now of the scale of the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the basic information. If you put that somewhere on the operation tab, that you know that there are 7 of them, you also get to ask me a question that reasonably I could answer on the basis of what you might find in the room or rooms.
Yeah. I figure I could. Well, I figure I could see from like what they have in their rooms, if are they like wet workers or are they analysts, that sort of thing. Kind of what kind of people we're talking about.
Yeah, I think that I can tell you that the shared rooms each have anonymous looking black plastic cases. And when you effortlessly pick them, you find inside that there are molded foam outlines for compact machine guns. So these are the kind of underarm SMGs, if you like. Yeah. I think it is fair to say that when you look in the single occupancy room, which you're assuming is Longshore's room, there is not a machine gun. There is not a similar case. But there's probably an empty box of 9mm ammunition discarded into the bin. How sloppy are these guys?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Does that seem like a fair answer to the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fine. So that's what we know when you kick the doors in. There is one point left before we get proper to the operation itself, and that is you have the option at this point to spend a point of intel, because you will see on the Operation 1 tab, there's a chunk of it that says obstacles and complications. Each of you could, as it says there, what do you want to be seen doing that would be cool? Describe an obstacle that would frame that, you looking cool. So it costs you intel. Intel has a variety of uses, but you've all got one. Again, I'm going to do this in the order of kind of experience using this system. So I'm going to go to Anton first. Does Anton want to spend his single intel to define an obstacle?
No.
No. Do you want to tell us why, just to explain your reasoning?
Just because Anton is a fairly focused character, and I don't see any of the obstacles that spring to mind beyond just murdering everyone in a corridor, like particularly being a worthy obstacle to define. So yeah. Fine by me.
Fine by me. Let me go next to Mia. Mia, is there an obstacle? And this isn't what's going to be in your preparatory scene. You've got that one fleshed out. Once we get past the preparatory scene into the operation, is there an obstacle that Mia wants to frame that she'd look cool overcoming?
Can we use the intel at any other point?
If you there's a tab called Heat and Intel, and over there in column KLM, there's a list of the things you could do with Intel. Intel is a useful resource. You accumulate it in play, and you can spend it in all kinds of different things. So at the minute we're doing the briefing, you can spend it to describe an obstacle. During the operation, if stress gets to a certain level, you can spend it to refocus and reduce stress. And down the bottom there, at any time during play, you can use it to recover your expertise by just focusing on, I know a lot of stuff about this, get your act together, or by defining the nature of a supernatural.
Yeah, I'm going to save it.
Okay, okay. Let's go to Dylan. What about Dylan? Is Dylan keen to describe an obstacle, or does he want to sit on the single intel he currently has?
I mean, I would like to sit on it, but on the other hand, I think one of us should spend it just because it's there and we can. And the obstacle I have in mind, I mean, there are 2 cars of people, right? And maybe, just, maybe we might get one of the cars to, well, if they were stopped, by a friendly policeman who tells them that their registration isn't in order and that they have to go to this car dealership over there, and not this one, the closest one, but that one out there at the headquarters, to really sort this out, or they be in hot water. Like, we've got tanks with this police now, and the guys are really eager to use them.
So is you're thinking of using your disguise expertise to maybe delay or stop the night shift arriving?
Yeah, I mean, not the longshore himself, he probably is too savvy for that, but if I can delay, if I can reroute 4 of his guys for 1 or 2 hours until they figure out that they've had the guys at the car dealership figure out what they actually want from them, I mean, that could be worth it, right?
Okay. So what I'm going to write down for Dylan here is convince 1 SUV bracket the night shift that they can't get through to the hospital. Whatever excuse you use, the object is to stop them getting to the hospital, isn't it? Or to delay them. To delay their arrival, which might mean that you're dealing with fewer opponents on site.
Right, because we don't really have fighters in this group.
You just have a killer.
Yeah, I don't but I don't know. One killer is nice, but if that gets taken out, what do we do then? Then Mia has to shoot them all, or I do, and I don't want that. I like shooting people when I've got the upper hand.
Yeah, I remember you blew out the top floor of a hotel once, but we won't remind you of that at this point. It seemed the right thing to do at the time. So
it was the right thing to do. It was
absolutely the right thing to do. Convince 1 SUV, the contractor night shift, that they can't get through to the hospital to delay their arrival. And that should mean that the rest of the team is facing less difficulty. Yeah, okay, that seems so erase 1 intel, that's in place. Now, the final thing I'll say to you, Anders, is that I will normally have 1 complication to play for each player character through the operation. The fact that 1 obstacle has now been defined means I only have 3. Yeah. So with that level of informed consent, does Timothy want to frame an obstacle that he'd look cool overcoming, or does he want to sit on the intel just in case?
So basically, the benefit, other than getting to look cool, is that we get to sort of define what problems are. Yeah.
Exactly. You begin to shape what you're going to face.
Yeah. I don't have a really good idea for an obstacle, so I'll hold my intel for now.
Okay, so investigation is done. We know the basic setup. I'm imagining a little montage which sees Dylan, getting into in a local police uniform, being dropped off perhaps half a mile away from the hotel, with the intention of distracting the night shift. The night shift are going to arrive, I guess, at the end of the working day. So I'm pitching the time frame for this it's probably 5 getting on 6 o'clock in the evening. The day staff in the hospital will be going home, but presumably Longshore and the other the other guys on site will stay there until the night shift arrives, obviously. So with all that in mind, Mia, where do we see you and what are you doing for your preparatory scene?
I am sitting at the safe house, chewing bubble gum. I have my phone next to me and a laptop in front of me.
And just to be clear, are you imagining spending the op there? Because I need to just know that that's quite a long way away from the hospital, which is out in the countryside.
Probably not. I imagine I'll need to be on site at some point.
Okay, well then the preparatory scene is probably going to be in a hire car or a van nearby.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can take the Punisher route and just sit in the back of this, the candy van, as it were, chewing bubble gum, sitting on my laptop, because they've got open Wi-Fi. It's a hospital. They post a password everywhere. It's like they're not even trying to secure something.
So you're in the back of the car. I think probably I'm imagining that Anton and Timothy start off in the front of the car, but then I will ask them where they're placed before I come back and see how the preparatory scene goes. Sure. So let's start with Anton. Anton, are you going to start the operation in the car with Mia, or are you somewhere else?
I'm in the hospital.
You'd have to get in the hospital first.
It's luckily that hospitals are places that the members of the public can walk into.
So we see you on your way to the front entrance of the hospital. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Timothy, where are you at the start of this op? Are you breaking in through the back window, or how are you going to get in?
Yeah, I think some kind of like service entrance or something, hanging around somewhere where I have a view of an entrance, but it's not like obvious that I'm scoping it out.
There is almost certainly a kind of plastic cubby hole at the back of the hospital where staff can go to smoke. And it's almost certainly convenient for some doorway. Yeah. It's probably a doorway that is secure from the outside, but insecure from the inside. So you don't have any trouble spotting a potential route in. I'll ask you in a moment how we see you making your way in. And likewise, then I'll cut back to Anton and ask him what happens when you get to reception. So Mia, let's start with you then. The other conceit, Anders, is that all of you have earbuds. You're always in communication with one another. There's no... Dylan.
I just to put that out there, maybe Anton and Dylan could go in together. Because Anton might play the, oh my God, my head is aching, or my stomach, or whatever, or Dylan could do that. We could do a dark.
The only fly in that ointment is that Dylan needs to be dressed as a policeman about half a mile away.
Oh, okay. I did not think that. I thought that was preparatory. But because if I can be at the hospital when the heist starts, then I'm not doing that at all. Because that is not good use of.
I didn't explain myself appropriately. You cannot have an investigation scene and have a preparatory instead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with that in mind, are we taking off the table to convince the night shift?
Yeah. Okay. Because I think I need to be. I think I should be at the hospital.
Fine.
For the whole thing.
Give yourself that intel back then.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that was something you did extra because you spent the intel.
No, it's just the opportunity to define it.
Okay.
So Mia, let's cut to you. Dylan and Anton are walking across the car park at the front of the hospital, heading for reception. Timothy is staking out the rear entrance. Mia, you're in the car, just outside the hospital. What do we see you doing? What you do best, I guess.
I blow a big old pink bubble and I just type away. Just click, 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 tick, tick, tick. And basically what you're saying, like on the screen, unlike most movies about hacking, you're actually seeing, command line interfaces. You're seeing Mia enter commands and enter actual exploits that would be, in Hollywood at least, veiled somewhat because, well, if they're actually functional and working, you don't want to give that away. But, this is a hospital. It's not like I'm cracking into an embassy or some sort of secure military installation or something like that.
Okay, so the only thing I need to know is whether this is in the intention of aiding Anton and Dylan to get in. So, for instance, inserting them into some list of expected visitors, or is this aimed at getting some control over internal security systems?
I want control over the entire goddamn hospital.
That may take more than a single roll, but let's see how it goes.
Okay.
So you are rolling to do something else.
Yes.
So you have the requisite expertise. So gray and orange dice are in hand. Do you want to pick up the stress dice and roll it as well?
You know what? Why not? Now, when do I get to roll deadly or explosive?
You don't until you blow something up.
Okay.
So you have
Awesome.
to use explosives to get access to the explosive.
Oh, like we did at the hotel. Okay. Now I see why that's there. Blow up a hotel, suddenly there's a deadly and explosive die. Is there anything else that I can do to improve my chances of success? Just those three dice?
Those three dice are as good as it gets.
All righty.
Oh, will you look at that? There's a 6.
On the stress die.
Is on the stress dice. So because your best result is equal to or higher than, and it's on the stress die, stress automatically goes up by 1. That's what we love to see.
Yep.
But a 6 is as good as it gets. So you succeed, but you succeed brilliantly. So I will give you control of one aspect of the hospital's internal security. What do you want as your first?
Only one aspect?
Only one aspect, and then I'll come back to you for what you want for your 6.
All right. I definitely want control over the locks because, if a hospital has to go into lockdown, they have automatic locks. They have
exactly
electronically or computer controlled locks. So I want the locks.
And because this is a sanatorium cum addiction treatment center, lots of the wards are locked. So this
is a rehab hospital.
This is the perfect. I mean, nobody asked the question. So I'm happy to tell you that. So
is this also a hospital for people who have had criminal issues due to mental health?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah. This could get real fun. Nice.
Pardon me. So I beg your pardon, you now have control of the locks. Because you succeeded brilliantly, I will give you an additional benefit. What additional benefit do you want? That could be, for instance, control over something else.
Will is suggesting apparently that I take control of the security cameras. Is that what you're suggesting, Will?
Yeah, we need to actually find him inside the hospital as well. So that would be my first bet. Is anything that helps with that? I'm very much imagining take a left. No, the other left as we go through the hospital.
Listen. I will happily be the girl in the chair here. So yeah, you know what? Anton wants security cameras. Anton gets security cameras.
Okay, so you have locks and cameras. But there's more on a 6. Mark intel, because you learn something else as part of this process, or maybe from something you see that you may be able to cash in later for an advantage. But you also discover something scary about this conspiracy. As you get access to the cameras, what is it that you see that just gives you a little shock? Or worries you? You can always defer it back to me.
If this is too much, please let me know. These people are interrogating Rajesh, right?
Yeah.
What if I see black plastic garbage bags heavily duct taped over any window that Rajesh might be near, suggesting that perhaps Rajesh is no longer completely human?
Oh my. We've gone straight for that one. Oh, right. So there
Is that fair? Is that okay?
I mean, go more if you want to go more in that direction. Or is that just a worry?
I'm completely okay with saying that based on my experience, I have reason to believe that Rajesh has been turned and is now a vampire.
Fine, fine.
I love it that way because who knows if it's Rajesh or Mr. Longshaw or whoever, right? Like somebody in that room is a potentially.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Which would explain Longshore's single room.
So someone is sensitive to light, inverted commas. Okay, and leave it as open as that. That would scare the shit out of me at this point. So brilliant. So all of that is communicated to the rest of you. Let's go first then to the front desk as Anton and Dylan approach reception. Dylan, I'm going to go to you first. Remember that because you have disguise, you can appear in any disguise you like.
I have a doctor's coat on.
Okay.
And I'm just kind of supporting, I guess, Anton. Like I don't know, like he's maybe in some sort of trouble. Maybe I tell him just mumble something in Czech or something that people won't understand. It can be anything, right?
And presumably, Dylan, you're wearing a badge that identifies you as a medic from a Munich hospital.
Yeah, I have some sort of badge. I need this needs to look critical enough that people won't start questioning me, because I have to get this guy in, because he's talking about hippos in the Isar and cocaine, and it's not good.
Well, okay, and the guy behind the desk says, "Well, we've had no information on a transfer."
Whatever, I need to get. I will battle him through a little medical journal, which I picked up on some TV show or other, and have freshened up before we got in there.
And the key word is stat.
Stat, yes, I will.
So let's have you maintain your cover. So you're using your disguise expertise. So that's grey and orange. Is this important enough to include the stress dice?
Yes, this is important enough to.
Okay, all 3 dice. Let's see how it goes.
Okay.
Will you look at that? A 4, and it's on the stress dice. So stress goes up by 1.
Okay.
On a 4, your cover holds. He says, "Well, what? Okay. Let me just call an orderly."
Yeah, we don't need that. I'm fine. Just don't upset him. Just don't upset him. Bavarian upsets him.
But I need to have someone. Does he need to go to the secure ward?
I'll clear this. Let me handle it. Let me handle it. I'm just walking.
How do you know?
Right?
And he's gonna. How do you know where you're gonna go?
I know my way around this. I look back and say, intern here. Intern here.
Okay. What's it? What? I need a name for admissions. Give him a name.
I give him a name.
Rouse.
Okay. And he types that in. And he's clearly confused, but you know, it was the perfect success. So maybe if something else happens, he's going to think this through. But right now, you are wandering around the hospital with a new patient.
Yeah. Cool.
Timothy, cut to the back of the hospital. A number of people are coming out through that door at the back, not for a smoke, but because they're leaving. There's a staff car park at it's the end of the working day. The day shift will be leaving. So what do we see Timothy doing?
I think I'm hanging around in this smoking cubby and just seeming to be lounging and taking it very easy, but just in time for when the last person like turns their back, I rush forward to get in the door, grab the door before it closes behind them.
I'm curious. How is Timothy dressed? Is he trying to create the impression that he's a patient who's allowed out to smoke here, or that he's a member of staff, or what? Because I just need to have a picture in my mind of once he gets on the corridors, what am I seeing?
I think he's dressed like he'd be some kind of administrator, not medical staff, but could pass as staff.
Okay. What you've noticed as the people are leaving is they all have a lanyard with a badge. And clearly, he's not going to get one. But let me explain how he could have one. At any point, any operator can call on a contact. You can flash back, spend a point of stress, flash back to a meeting with, in this case, a forger, who could have provided you with a reasonably convincing temporary use of disguise. Or do you want to do this without disguise?
I think I'll do it without. I think Timothy is reasonably confident that he can pick up a lanyard once it's inside.
Okay. Okay.
And he knows he has Mia helping with all the electronics, and computer stuff, so she can probably help him out.
Okay, Mia, how do you help Timothy pick the right moment to make his entry through this door?
Because I see when people are walking through the halls. So I have eyes, I've got the camera, it's aimed on the door. Timothy has the door just open enough to get in. It's like, hold, there's a couple of orderlies coming. It's right there going, they'll be clear in 5, 4, 3, 2, go. Okay,
so I think I'm tempted to give you the benefit of the doubt here and give you that expertise from Mia. I think Mia has helped you get onto the premises. So you're rolling grey and orange, stress dice if you'd like it.
I think I will, actually. I don't want this to go too wrong. So I'll roll the stress die instead of paying the automatic stress before. We'll see how this goes. No, it's the expertise is 5.
That's fine, and it's not on the stress dice, so no stress change. 5 means you get in without any trouble. So you're on the premises. This doesn't mean that you're clear forever, but it does mean that you're on the premises, and we'll worry about if you encounter someone shortly. We are about on the hour. I'm going to suggest we take a short break now, because it seems to me that we've got people on the premises. It's a natural commercial break. Shall we go from now until 5 past the hour and back then? Okay, I'll pause the recording. Okay, back from our final break. So we have 3 of the team on the premises. We have Dylan as a doctor leading Anton through the hospital. We have Timothy having inserted himself at the back, dressed as an administrator on the doctor. I haven't described this building at all, and it seems to me that I should do a bit of description. It's an old building. It clearly dates. It's pre-Second World War, it looks like it might once have been some kind of country home or retreat for some very well-off family. And I guess, Timothy, that's when, as you're making your way through the back, which might once have been the front. They've kind of repurposed bits of the building. You will see a grand staircase that goes up to the upper levels where the ward is, and a carved into the stone at the base of this is a coat of arms, and the coat of arms is labelled Throndal. So while you're contemplating that and considering where you go next, let's go to Dylan. Dylan, where are you heading? I will tell you that it will be dinner soon, and lots of the patients who are allowed free movement around the hotel are on the corridor, so it's busy.
Well, first order of business is to get some scrubs for Anton, so he can blend in as an orderly, if that's okay with you, Anton. Or do you want a doctor's coat?
No, I think, stealing some orderly clothes and having a bag of something with us is a great disguise to have.
Yeah, and then Mia can tell us where we should go, because, she's got the eyes, right?
On the comms, take a left, go 2 doors down.
Yeah.
Come to that in a moment. I just want to check in one thing. I'm assuming that Anton and Dylan are lightly loaded, so that they that doesn't detract from any disguise you might have. I'm equally assuming that Timothy is wanting to appear from his description to be just a normal member of staff, right? Likewise, down there on row 33, also light loaded. The gear in this, Anders, works much like Forged in the Dark. So you've got, at light loaded, 3 gear slots. When you're light loaded, you can only have gear that is a single box. If you have a look at one of the drop downs, you'll see that they each come with a kind of little box indicating how much bulk they take up. Lightly loaded, you can only have single box items, and you can have 3 of them. Mia, I'm not going to ask you until it matters, because you could take stuff out of the boot of the car.
Fair enough.
So when you decide to leave the car, remind me to ask you what you're taking with you. You do not have to select gear until such time as you use it. So that means at this point in the proceedings, Mia, you have simply selected computer, laptop, or whatever, or laptop, tablet, whatever I've called it. The rest of you haven't used any equipment. Dylan, you can change your disguise from doctor to something else by declaring your disguise kit.
Yes, I saw that. Right now, I'm pretty. I like being a doctor, but we need to get Anton something that is not. Oh, I'm a patient. I'm going to cuckoo right next to the instance.
I would be very happy for you to declare a disguise kit
I
now,
think I will declare a disguise kit
and find in it a patient's gown.
No, I don't want a patient's gown. I want scrubs for Anton.
Oh, then fine.
Like a nurses.
Fine. You know, an appropriate subsidiary uniform for Anton. Yeah, but it won't have the ID. Okay.
No, that's fine. People will. I mean, we can still steal the ID.
Okay.
People never look at the little pictures, really.
So we cut to a door on a corridor in the hospital, and we see Dylan comes out and Anton comes out, just shrugging on whatever this uniform looks like. Where are you going to head, Dylan?
Mia, darling, where are we going to head?
Mia? How are you going to tell him where to go?
I've got eyes on everybody. I mean, I've got multiple windows open on my laptop. And so I'm directing them so that they can meet up with each other, unless somebody wants to be directed someplace else. Do any of you want to be grabbing something else, or is the goal just grabbing Rajesh?
Yeah, we want to grab Rajesh's stuff if that's at all possible, because that's the objective, right? Grabbing Rajesh is nice, but we need his research.
Well, now, for what it's worth, what Anton's scrying picked up was that he was being questioned on that very thing, which suggests that the conspiracy don't know where it is either.
Okay, then we need to get him. Okay, yeah.
Mia, what I'm imagining you putting together is some kind of series of views that allows you in some way to work out a route.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's absolutely what's going on.
Okay, and I think using external cameras, you can work out which bit of the building those blacked out windows are, or you think they are. And then if that's the bit of, you know, can you kind of put together a set of views that take you from reception to some point in the middle of the hospital where you both can, where you all can get together, and maybe then where you could go? Is that what it is? Okay. So that sounds...
Does Mia have access to the security controls as well, I believe? Was that
control of the doors?
The doors. Well, I mean, that's even better, because if our route takes us through secure areas, it's just like we mime swiping a card and then it goes green, right? Like
we're on the right track if the door opens without us trying. Okay. So Mia, let's have you roll to investigate to find a route. Yeah, and see how long see if you can find as short a route as possible. So this is with your digital intrusion. So expertise counts, stress dice if you'd want it. I am going to note that you are on 4 stress. Remember, you can always, if you can find a way to insert seek relief from the horror into the fiction, you can seek relief from the horror.
So a quick question about this, because on Intel, it says I can use Intel during the operation when stress is 4 or more to reduce stress as I review what I know and focus on the objective.
Yeah.
So I would like to spend 1 intel because I'm focused on the objective and I'm reviewing what I know.
Fine. Stress goes down by 1. Job's a good one.
So does intel.
Yes.
And then I will promptly respend that, risk that stress as I roll.
Fine. Oh, look at that. It's another 6 and it's on the stress die. So
I'm just not going to do anything with any of the stuff that I'm not going to unmark the intel or the stress.
Oh, no, you spent the intel
But I
and
get another
reduced
intel
the
from
stress.
this.
Stress goes up. Oh, on the 6, you get intel back. I see what you mean. Sorry, I was not quick enough. Who wrote this game? And
I blow a bubble as I do so, of course.
So on a 6 to investigate, you get the minimum you need to proceed. So you can find a route.
Yep.
You can also ask me 2 questions. Sorry, you can also ask me. I've lost my place on the sheet. You can also ask me 2 questions about this route, or I think this is a time when I could have you declare something about the route.
Okay. Let me switch over to basic moves.
Because that's what you're trying to do, isn't it? You're trying to identify the route.
I can ask 2 questions, correct?
Or declare 2 things about the route that you choose for them.
So,
for instance, would you like that route to go via where you can see Timothy?
that is a good question. So open to input here from anybody who has an idea. I think I want one of the things to be about getting to Rajesh and the other to be getting you the hell out of there quickly.
Okay. So the basic information is you can find a route to Rajesh. That's done.
Yes.
The second thing, you can find the quickest route out, which is not the way you're going to get in. It probably ends up going back the way Timothy got in.
Okay.
That still leaves you with another thing to declare, which could be we go via Timothy, or we direct Timothy to meet us en route, which would allow all 3 of them to arrive near Rajesh at the same time.
That'd be escape route, regroup, basically, would be the 2 options that we take there.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and do with that. And what I'd like to note about the exfil route is that there are security doors, and it goes through the part of this facility where the most dangerous and violent criminals are. So we can get all of you through the security door, and then at the same time open the security doors where the, murderers and serial killers are, so that, whoever held Rajesh is now dealing with them.
Okay, so you're hoping that you might be able to provide some cover for an escape. I'm with you.
Yes.
Okay. But Timothy, let's cut back to you. When you look at that carved coat of arms inscribed with the name Throndal, or technically the Counts of Throndal, there's a nasty shiver up your spine. I've already played one of my complications, which is the corridors are much busier than you expected. I'm now going to play. Where is it? Further down. This doesn't feel right. The obvious way that Mia is telling you to go to meet up with Anton and Dylan, maybe it's something about your training. Maybe there's something about your sense of faith. Maybe something bad will happen unless you choose a different route. What do you do, Timothy? Do you believe Mia, or do you believe your feelings?
I think I have learned. Sorry. I think I've learned to trust my gut when I'm in the field. So I will try to find a different route.
The only option you've got here is to go upstairs and look for another set of stairs down.
Then I'll do that.
Fine. Up goes Father Timothy to the upper floor. and you tell Dylan and Anton that, so there's no problem. So Anton and Dylan, you go to where you expected to find Timothy, and he said, no, that's not the way to do it. I'm finding a different way. What do you do, Anton?
He says, have faith, of course, right? Like, has to be something cheesy like that.
Anton, are you?
I say, you know, we're gonna get Rajesh out of here. Make sure you're on the way out. No, don't slow us down. Yeah.
Okay. So Dylan and Anton, once you go to where you were supposed to meet up with Timothy, there's a set of stairs down, which is where Mia is directing you to go. And you're down now. Clearly, this is not a well-used part of the hospital. This is a part of the hospital which is old. It's probably looks like it's probably labeled storage. Yeah. But you're making your way down there. Who's? I'd love to ask who's in front.
Dylan?
I can go in front, yeah. Because
I mean, I think I'd be the more like tactically savvy one, but I like the idea of Dylan's easy smile at the front of the whole operation.
You're basically an assassin, right? So you don't have to be in the front. Let me be at the front and talk to people, and then you can sneak around and cut their throats. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a deal?
Sounds like it. And don't worry, this caliber will go straight through you. So don't worry about that.
Don't do that unless we really have to. Okay, I don't like that.
Of course, if we have to, I wouldn't want you to worry.
Yeah, that was really not something I would ever worry about, being shot in the back by someone who says, "Oh, don't worry, it won't." At least we're at a hospital, right?
Yes. Always look on the bright side.
Yeah, you know I've got a gun too.
Yeah, I think you asked me, does this look, it's an official part of the hospital. It's official in as much as I think it probably is used for storage. So down there at the bottom of these stairs, in these brick vaulted spaces, there's lots of equipment stored. You know, there's fluorescent lights. So it's old, but it's not entirely unused.
And you're sure this is where they're keeping Rajesh Smith? Huh. Check the pistol and move on, I guess.
Does that mean you've just declared a pistol?
I mean, out of the I can only take one box things.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't be going down there without some sort of firearm, I think. You know, and maybe more weapons, who knows?
Who knows? Timothy, upstairs is where there are lots of private rooms, it looks like. But again, it doesn't feel like a hospital up here. It feels much more like an old country house. What do you do, Timothy? Are you getting through this as quickly as possible, looking for a way back down to where the others are, or do you have anything else in mind?
I think, first of all, I've tried to pick up a clipboard or something just so that it looks like I'm doing something. And something, preferably a folder or something I can hold in front of my chest so that it's not obvious that I don't have a lanyard.
Fine. I don't have a problem with that. I used to work with someone who walked everywhere with a sheet of paper.
Yeah. Yeah, I work for the government. I know how this works. So, but I think I've tried to at least look into one of these rooms if it's not occupied.
What's interesting about these rooms is that they don't appear to be part of the hospital security system. It's almost like they're a bit of private accommodation within the frame of the hospital.
Ooh. So do they look like? I mean, are there beds and that sort of thing, or?
There are. It looks like if this was still an immediately pre-war hunting lodge or country home, these rooms look like they've been left like that. Mm-hmm. It looks like a bit of private house. You go through these large double doors, great, mahogany with ornate glasswork in them. You go through there and it's like you step back 2 generations.
Okay, what are the windows like?
All of the windows have heavy drapes.
Okay, I am going to hurry through this as quickly as possible because this is a scary place to be.
Well, look, there is a move called flee for your life. Or do you not feel that you're at that place yet?
Not quite.
Okay. You know that tingly feeling you had on the back of your neck? It's back again. And as you go, you looked into this bedroom, large, solid door, a bed with bed curtains drawn back, heavy drapes, very richly furnished. And you've looked in there, and this has worried you a bit. You step away into the corridor, you get that, and it's almost like somebody breathes on the back of your neck. What do you do, Timothy?
Oof. Yeah, I think I will flee for my life. I think this is right now my gut is telling me that I should not be here.
Okay, so I see you running down this corridor, not looking back or looking back?
Not looking back.
Not looking back. Okay, let's have you engage the flee for your life move. Now, only military fieldcraft would give you a runaway expertise, so you just roll in the grey dice, unless you'd like to include your stress dice.
I will include the stress die.
No, I can't believe it.
So let's roll those two.
Oh, look at that, a pair of threes.
Terrible.
So the 3 on the stress dice means stress automatically goes up by 1.
Yeah.
Flee for your life 1 to 3. You're in trouble. Choose to either get caught or agree with control who or what gets left behind before you mark heat and try to flee for your life again. I don't think you've got anything that legitimately, or anyone you could leave behind here that's so I think that you run down this corridor, turn expecting to find a staircase, and it's a dead end. So what do? You've gone around this corner, it's a dead end. I'm going to mark heat just to keep the thing ticking over.
Yeah, I've marked my stress.
And there are a couple of doors, but it's not the staircase you were expecting to find or hoping to find. There must be another way down. Your faith wouldn't have brought you up here if there wasn't another way down, for God's sake.
Well,
we cut from Timothy and his difficult choice back to Anton and Dylan. Mia, your observation of the interrogation, I think I'm prepared to have a camera inside that interrogation room. I think they're probably recording what's being said. And as you pointed out, the basement level windows are blacked out. Mm-hmm. And Rajesh is strapped to this gurney, and you're not getting sound, but he's shaking, and the look on his face and his mouth, it looks like he's screaming, feral screaming, as 2 guys and the guy you take to be our chief interrogator, Walt, are standing over him, talking to him. Is there anything you want to do, Mia, or do you just want to communicate that through to the team?
Are there any other systems in this hospital that I can gain control of?
Well, what are you interested in getting control of?
I mean, fire suppression is the obvious one.
That is very much the obvious one. Let's have you roll your digital intrusion then. So this is with expertise, stress dice if you want it. I will remind you we're on 4 stress.
Yeah, I will go ahead and include the stress die along with my expertise die.
Mia loves to walk to the bleeding edge of risk. Well, that's okay, because the 5 is not on the stress dice. So you have control of the fire suppression system.
And I'm going to say on comms, everyone be prepared. It's about to get a little wet. And I'll turn them on.
And they go on the screen. We see chaos as Walt looks around. The guys are kind of backing away from these water sprays coming out the ceiling. Dylan and Anton, you get sprayed in it, but you also hear around the corner somebody say in Czech, "Shit, what's that?"
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
So there's somebody around that corner.
So let's run around the corner.
And there are two guys stood at a door, and just looking up and trying to avoid,
This is the door, right? We need to go through to get to Rajesh.
Certainly that's the assumption I'm hoping you're going to make.
Okay, that's the assumption I'm going to make. So I'm going to yell at them in Czech, extraction, now we've got to go, move.
Let's have you roll. I don't think persuasion is the tone. So I don't think persuasion flies here. You're still dressed as a doctor, which I don't see as being that authoritarian to them. So I think you're without expertise, stress dice if you want it.
I think I want it. Yeah, I definitely want it. Oh, I want it. So I'm just using the orange one, no, the gray one, right? It's
the gray one and the green if you want it.
Look, I want a green, yeah. Come on, be nice to me. Yeah.
Oh, it has been nice to you. So they look at you, they stop, they look at you, they look at the conditions, and they unlock the door to get inside. Anton, what do you do?
There's a lot of them, isn't there?
There's two of them outside,
and three of them inside,
and three of them inside.
Yeah.
I know that's not true. Two of them outside and two of them inside, including Walt.
Okay.
The night shift is still on the way into the building.
So there's four of them. I still think that's enough for me to throw a stun grenade at them all.
Declare the stun grenade, roll it down the corridor just as the door opens. Let's see how well that goes.
Okay, let me declare the stun grenade.
For added effect, I'll just close the door behind them. I don't want to be in the radius of the stun.
I don't think you're that close to them. Let's keep you far enough away from the explosion.
Okay. Let's see how well I do on the
so
dice roll, maybe.
This is an attempt to take them out by subduing them. Yeah. So you are rolling with your small arm stroke hand-to-hand expertise. That applies. You are using your deadly expertise because this is what you're good at. It'd be better if it was a fragmentation grenade, but so
that would probably make a mess of Rajesh as well.
It might. So the 3 dice across the middle, plus the green one if you want one. No risk dice because they are not a risk to you yet.
Okay. There's a 6 on the expertise dice.
What can I say? Well, I'll say what it says here. You succeed brilliantly. It goes off. You take out all the pawns. What would you? That leaves Walt. What would you like your bonus to be, Anton?
I think I would like my bonus to be. My bonus would be that I come in hot off the back of that stun grenade, right? Like I kick, and I am on top of Walt. So I am engaged in, like, he's not breaking away. He's not going to pull out a gun and shoot somebody else, kind of thing,
Okay,
like,
you're in the room before Walt can pull a gun. I go with that, but Walt is still.
Yeah. I'm imagining that, like, the guys turn around and I kick one of them in and I throw the stun grenade. I go catch the other one, throw the stun grenade, and then boom. And then as it clears and Walt looks up, he just sees Anton blurring towards him, and then like close combat.
Okay. Remember to mark intel for the 6. And then because the way that Rajesh is behaving is not normal.
Yeah, and I think I've died straight through a stun grenade that I've just set off.
You have.
Yeah.
So let's have you roll for stress. So
it doesn't go up. I got a 1.
Right, Anders, just to explain, if you roll a 6 and it's not on the stress die, you roll for stress. So you roll the stress die. If it's higher than your current stress goes up by 1. But Anton is a pro. So you are coming out of the flashbang. Walt is kind of not yet fully compos mentis. Anton, what are you going to do?
I think that, like, well, I've got Walt held, but is it not Dylan's action now?
So you're going to confront Walt.
Yeah, I'm essentially like pinning down Walt, like,
okay.
Maybe we're wrestling in the background of the.
I think the benefit was that he didn't shoot you as soon as you came through the door.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now you will need to subdue him. But
Okay,
Dylan,
sure.
Dylan, Anton has rushed to the front. Mia is saying, what the fuck happened in there? Just smoke and mirrors. And what are you going to do, Dylan?
I'm gonna say we're just having fun and going to Rajesh and see what I can do there.
You could just wheel him out of this room on the gurney.
Yeah, what's he doing? I mean, has he been stunned by the stun grenade? Because
I think he's so far gone. It's difficult to say in terms of how compos mentis, how he's raving.
Okay, I'll leave him on the gurney then. Is there a way to subdue him? Do I have something?
You don't have to. He's strapped to the gurney.
Yes, but I don't want him shouting around, right?
Oh, I see.
Because I mean, is there some sort of medical thing that I can use? Drugs.
If you declared the medical kit, if you declared the medical kit, and just injected him with a knocker outer,
I'll do that.
Yeah, I won't even make you roll for that because he's restrained.
Yeah.
Timothy, back to you upstairs. Mia, interestingly, this corridor is not on the camera circuit. Timothy, what do? There's a couple of doors and something was behind you when you ran from it.
Yeah, so now I need to know, is this the kind of game where you can jump from a second-story window and expect to be okay or not?
It's always a possibility. If you get really lucky, that smoking shelter will be outside.
Yeah, okay. Because I think trying to go back down the corridor seems more dangerous than trying to escape out the window.
Okay, well, let's have you flee for your life again then, to see how this goes. And the way I'd interpret this is if you leave something behind, that could be some stress.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's have you, no expertise, stress dice if you want it.
Yeah, I'll roll the stress die. And this time I get a 4.
Stress goes up by 1. 4, you get away clean unless Control chooses to spend heat to maintain the pursuit. I don't think I've got enough heat in hand at this point, so I'm going to let you leap from a window onto a van that's parked below, so you don't suffer. What I will point out is that as you kind of clamber off the top of the van and look back up, you can see someone just pulling the curtain back, but you're not certain who or what it was. But it was weird. There was something about them that didn't fit with the idea that this is a hospital with, people. The whole place up there felt like it was generations old. It was, it was weird. Mia, Timothy has leapt from the first floor down into the staff car park at the rear of the building. And you, Mia, will be aware that external alarms are going off now, and presumably a silent alarm to the local fire station will have gone off. What do you do, Mia?
Clock's ticking, people. Get out of there.
Timothy is making his way as quickly as possible around the side of the building in order to get to where Mia is. Anton, let's have you try to subdue Walt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So your deadly expertise counts.
Mm-hmm.
Stress dice if you want it.
No, I don't want the stress dice.
It's confidence.
That's a 5.
That's a 5. So yeah, you inflict stress on him, but he is not yet subdued.
Mm-hmm. I'm not dead. My specialism isn't deadly, is it? It's librarian, so I can't mark it and put it to a 6. No,
sadly not. Sadly not.
Can I declare the taser?
You could declare the taser.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you got up close and personal. He blocks you. You punch him. He stumbles back. Maybe he stumbles over a piece of equipment.
I think he stumbles over one of his groggy
guys.
Yeah. Who I then kick in the head and then
cut to Dylan. Dylan, you've got an unconscious Rajesh on a gurney. Well, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm getting him out, and I'm saying, Mia, guide me. Get me out here.
And the nice thing is that you passed a freight elevator on the way in.
Yeah, great. And I'm taking that one because I don't want to. I mean, I could carry that guy, but would cramp my style a little, right?
Because Mia has laid out an exfiltration route that took you via that freight elevator. The only thing, as Mia has warned you, it does take you up into the secure wing. Okay,
and that's where she's going to get to release all these.
That's the plan, but it won't take you into the secure. It won't take you across the boundary. You won't get into the locked wards, but it will take you into that wing. Anton, let's have you try to tase friend Walt.
How many wrist die do I add to this?
I think that probably, just one at this point, because I think he's on the back foot. He's drawn his gun. He's going to try and shoot you with it.
That is a 3 on the wrist die, and 3 is my highest dice as well.
Oh my! So you don't do that. You miss with the taser, but he shoots you. So now go to on confront them. You will find the harmful consequences. And you are rolling a single d6. Roll the stress dice if you want to, because you'll take the best result. And you are neither adding nor subtracting anything to the dice roll.
That's a 4 on the expertise dice.
Okay, 4+. You were lucky this time. It hurts, but you'll live.
I think it's, you know, like as I lunge forward with the taser, he fires and it just like cuts straight across the shoulder, like through, and stagger backwards and then duck out of the way of the next shot. You know? A
cinematically attractive red smear appears in the white coat that Dylan got for you. Timothy, are you doing anything apart from making a beeline for Mia in the car?
I think like as soon as I think I'm reasonably away from the cameras where I exited, I like ditch my jacket, that sort of thing, to just make myself not look obviously as the same person.
Well, the thing that doesn't make you obvious is that anyone who is not an essential member of staff whose fire duty is to deal with the locked wards is leaving the building because the alarms have gone off. So there are lots of people spilling from the building, both safe patients and staff. Dylan, you go up in the freight elevator and Mia's told you to head for that rear loading dock because that'll be the easiest way out. That'll take you out into, again, to the rear of the building. But you are going to encounter now, because I'd already declared crowds of people. I'm now going to declare more crowds of people.
More crowds of people, okay.
Crowd control, lots of people leaving the building. None of them are wheeling a gurney with a patient on. Good. So you are attracting attention. What's your reaction as people say, you can't bring somebody on a gurney out here? And a doctor says, no, look, come on, we need to get this patient back to where they can. The fire drill doesn't do this.
I will tell them the basement's on fire. We need to get out of here.
Let's see if they are convinced by that argument, Dylan.
I think this is persuasion, right?
Oh, it is. It is.
Cool. I don't think I will risk stress. How much stress do I have? 3. Oh, I can. And I've still got intel. Come on, I'm risking stress. Those can totally go.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
He rushes back inside the building to get more people out.
Good.
And says to people, he shouts, clear the way, there's going to be more gurneys coming. Allowing you to wheel this gurney down into the back of the hospital. Mia.
Do I? No, the 6 was not on the stress die, right?
No, you're fine. But I do need you to mark intel for the 6.
Oh, yeah,
and I do need, congratulations. And I do need you to roll for stress.
Yeah.
Because this is, you know, crowds of people are always uncontrollable.
True.
They can turn on a sixpence.
Yeah, well, let's see how that goes. Oh yeah, that is
stress goes up.
Yeah, well.
But I think you probably see Timothy coming around the other corner of the building, with a lot of other people from the fire exit.
Okay.
Mia, Dylan's got Rajesh on a gurney outside the building. You probably have a view of that car park. But the issue now is getting that gurney out of the building. It's perfectly legitimate to take them to the fire assembly area. It's going to be noticed if Dylan tries to run out of the hospital grounds with that gurney. What do you do, Mia?
Where's Anton, first of all?
Anton has not emerged yet. Through the dust and the debris from the flashbangs, you can see that he's engaged with friend Walt.
So as I move from the back, well, you know what? Can I just be sitting in the driver's seat of the car?
Of course you can.
Okay. So I put my laptop on the passenger seat. It's open and facing me, and I say, Anton, you need to stop this shit and get out, because otherwise you're going to fuck up our exfil plan, which involves releasing a whole bunch of dangerous criminals who have killed people. I don't want you fighting your way through them as well. They're supposed to be our cover for getting out. That's the chaos that everybody's going to pay attention to instead of us. Stop fighting this dude and go. And at the same time,
Anton ducks out of the way of another gunshot and rolls behind a gurney, and then just like reaches up midway through that and turns off the earpiece so he can concentrate for a second.
I do need to ask you, Anton, are you fleeing from your life, or are you continuing to engage Walt, who is now also behind a piece of equipment? Yeah,
I think I am going to get out of there because I don't care. I actually want Walt to live. So.
Okay. Yeah. So Dylan and Timothy are herring around the side of the building. It's going to get a bit suspicious, but Mia is coming towards them with the car. Anton, let's have you flee for your life.
Okay. I don't think any of my expertise count.
None of them apply. Only military field work gives you a benefit.
I will include my stress die.
Okay.
That's a 5 on the stress die.
Stress goes up by 1, but you are home free.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to spend anything to keep the chase going. I think Walt is going to have to check in with headquarters or get out of a burning building.
I mean, of course, the second that I run through a secure door, of course, Mia shuts the doors behind me and Walt bangs up against them right as he chases me.
Better and better. So Mia, Anton said, is on his way. And presumably will tell you if he switches his earbud back on.
Yeah,
when
it comes
he's clear
back on
as
I run through the doors. I'm putting it back on.
So Mia, do you still need your opening the locked ward? And well, not do you need it? Do you do it?
So the goons and Longshore are in that ward, correct?
Yeah, and as you drive into the car park, you will have seen the night shift arrive in the SUV and go in through the front entrance reception. Dylan?
I'm opening up the wards.
Are there any ambulances where we're going?
That's an interesting question.
I mean, they have to have them somewhere, right?
Yeah,
because
no, there's an ambulance. There's an ambulance parked outside at the back.
Cool. I'll take the ambulance then.
Mia, you don't even have to drive onto site.
Awesome. So having seen that, I wonder, can I use the systems in the hospital to gain access to, for example, the boilers?
You could, yeah. I think that probably at this point, you will see an ambulance with Dylan driving it and Anton scrabbling into the back where Timothy is holding down the gurney with Rajesh on, screaming around the corner, heading for the exit to the hospital. But by all means.
All right. So we've got the ward of like the violent criminals who are there opened up. We've got the goons locked behind doors with them, but just to add to the fun. So I will roll stress, expertise, and the gray die. 6 on stress.
Stress goes up by 1. That must be getting a bit dangerous, mustn't it?
I am going to, once again, because I get an intel from that, spend that intel to reduce the stress back down to my standard, to where 4. I'm at 4.
Okay.
But since I have access to the boilers now,
Yeah, and a bonus as well. So you could do something else with one keystroke.
I'm going to blow the boilers.
Explosion at local psychiatric hospital.
Oh, get us some info.
So, ambulance screeches out of the gates. Mia, do you follow the ambulance, or is your intention to go in a different direction?
Hold on one second. So, Sabine, you said something about information instead of the boilers.
Maybe that would be a better solution instead of blowing up a hospital. Just saying.
I mean, the flashbangs are enough to warrant all this flyer suppression stuff. So at least that's covered. Yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and what kind of intel or what kind of information can we get from the system?
What I will do is I will award you one extra intel.
Okay.
And then how you choose to spend that, it may prove that you got some interesting stuff out of their database before you pull the plug, or maybe it's something else. It's non-specific intel.
Okay.
And I think that's our op. Because I've partly got an eye on the clock.
Yeah.
I think I probably have a complication in hand, but that doesn't matter. That was exciting enough for session one, I think. What I would like to do is to do a quick stars and wishes now. We will do the debrief from this op next time, and then the downtime, and then move on from there, depending on which loose ends we discover and want to follow. Okay.
I can't punch out the ambulance driver, right, and release some stress.
Oh, the ambulance driver has to go to the fire assembly point to register that there's.
No, I wanted to punch him out to release some stress, right?
Oh, I see.
I see. You know, I like to combine my violence with my stress relief.
Let's go to Seek Relief from the Horror and have you behave badly right now. Roll a d6 and we'll work with the consequences where we get to.
Let's see.
Punch. I don't want to blow up a hospital, but I don't mind punching an ambulance driver.
It's just, you know, and I rolled a 5.
5.
That means
on a 5.
Mark Heat.
Behave. Also on a 5+, Mark Heat, agree with control how this comes to the conspiracy's attention. Some cut to later after this where the police are interviewing about what's gone on. And then the policeman turns away, and who should be standing there but friend Walt, having a conversation with a policeman about what's gone on. So that will add 1 to Heat, which moves us from suspicious to alarmed for next time. So that might go down a bit. So yeah, let's do a stars and wishes on that point. I'll go left to right. Sabine, any stars, any wishes?
Oh, I like this. I forgot how much fun these little things were when they actually go right. And of course, stars to all of you. Stars to Mia for just basically being Mia. Stars to Anton for being just a badass, right? And to Big Daddy Tim just for the Big Daddy Tim thing. We need to have more interaction.
And I just want to know what it was behind Timothy.
Yeah, and then stars to you, Alan. This was fun.
Good. Any wishes for next time?
No, I'm good. I mean, basically one wish, I would like to have more interaction with Big Daddy Tim, but otherwise.
Well, you'll have downtime, and you can interact anytime you like. Just find yourself in the same room, have a chat. We might get into Seek Relief by discussing relationships between you and stuff like that next time. Moving along. Will, any stars, any wishes?
Yeah, I quite liked the paramedic getting punched out and that leading back to the conspiracy, because I just imagining Longshore like talking to this German paramedic with his with an ice pack against his face. Did you see this person?
What did they look like? All this.
And I love having a woman in a van. And I think Father Warren is acted very rationally. Like fleeing for your life when the thing you're all on your own. It was interesting to see the flee for your life come up with a supernatural sort of presence in the air. I like that a lot. It felt like a horror game.
I want to add a star to that because, it was great to see the Saint Hunter, who too often found demons, thinking, I've been in this situation before. That was great.
It felt like he was in the horror part of the movie, you know.
Exactly.
And my wish would just be, I would like kind of, you know, some solid intel on Throndal that we can exploit out of this. And I guess we've got 3 sessions of this. Is this right? Or
we have 3 more.
3 more. Well, I guess, you know, I want to keep in mind that we're working towards like to taking out Throndal. Like that's the overall objective.
My assumption is that session 4 is a confrontation with Throndal.
Yeah.
If you confront him before that, he's likely to get away and have to come back, but that might teach you some things about him.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to Anders. Any stars, any wishes?
Yeah, start you to begin with for doing a great job of introducing the game and explaining the mechanics as needed, not dumping everything, but just letting me know what as things moved along. It was really great. And to everyone else for playing fun, interesting characters who are, I guess, appropriately ruthless. It's interesting.
Any wish for next time?
Not really. Just seeing more of the game, interacting a bit more with the other characters, perhaps.
Fine. Well, you know, we could maybe stretch downtime. If we don't get an operation finished next time, that's not a problem. We know that our final session is going to be built around the confrontation with Throndal. I'll make that happen. Don't worry about that. And then finally, Puckett. Scott, any stars, any wishes?
It is so much fun to be back in this world. Like, I love the way that it played out. I mean, I've seen this in so many different iterations. So my first star is to you, Alan, because I've watched this game. I watched where it started. I've watched how it's evolved over time. And it is just humming on every single part of it so far. So star to you. This is so much fun. God, stars to everybody else. I mean, I had so much fun just in side chat, goofing off, like talking about the op while it was like what's going on in it at the same time. So, you know, it was so much fun to watch everybody work. I think that if I'm just going to award like 1 star to 1 player, I would award it to Anders, because that whole thing about ignoring what the hacker with access, with complete control over the security cameras, ignoring what I'm telling you to do to go someplace else because you think that's a better route, you know, that's certainly a choice. And that is certainly going to affect the relationship between the two of you because, well, that was a choice, that was a decision. But, you know, Will, I gotta say, I loved how you played Anton and like, gee, do I want to get this guy or do I want to get out of here before everything goes haywire? And Sabine, you know how much I love Dylan. I mean, I super puffy heart Dylan, and like I said to start, it's just I love Dylan, you know. So stars all around, but you know that Anders, that decision was great. So that's a good way to push drama forward.
Absolutely, I'd endorse that. It's really nice to have someone who is built around faith in the game, because that opens a whole kind of range of different boxes. You know, do you believe the inner self or the outer information? So, you know, thank you for giving me a chance to ask the question. Dylan, I wish I had asked, what kind of hat does a doctor wear? I must try to reference the hat more often. I every time we play together with Dylan, I think I must ask about the hat more often. So,
I'm fairly certain the doctor didn't wear a hat.
oh, you see, then
no.
you know.
It's kind of that's yeah. You have to sell the disguise, and a hat wearing doctor in the medical code that doesn't tell.
Okay. Well, you know, next.
But maybe I stole the ambulance driver's hat, because he had a nice hat, and that might have been why I punched him. But I never tell anyone.
Dylan's trophies are never parts of vampires; they're always hats.
Of course.
Scott, you know, thank you for being the woman in the van. What I want to make sure is you're not always the woman in the van. So, you know, I you know,
100%.
feel free to get out the van because sometimes people can spend too long in the van.
100%.
And yeah, well, I am looking forward to seeing Anton unleash the dark. I think using the expertise to gain the investigation, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. It's when you begin to actively intervene in the world with the darkness, I think, that we engage harness the dark.
Yeah. I just wonder about the limits of that in terms of because you can do anything with magic, right? So yeah.
I think that the framing of the scene and the structure of the investigation is probably enough. I'll need to write something into it, but I think we can work that out between us.
Yeah, I wonder if it's one of those tone things, isn't it? Someone could say, I'm like God, another person would be like, I get a brief psychic vision of whatever, which I feel is more in fitting. But yeah, anyways.
So Wishes, I can't wait to play again. I love having you all back. I love having Throndal in the crosshairs, though we haven't quite tracked him down yet. Would it be okay if I publish the recording? I always, thank you. Let me stop that recording now.